All right, guys. Hey, guys. It's Johnny Reeds here. Sorry, I'm speaking softly. I'm getting over a cold, but I'm at the beach right now. So I thought I'd go ahead and kind of do my August wrap up while I'm here. It's kind of sprinkling a little bit, but it's actually nice because it's really warm. So don't mind it. The beach is actually kind of crowded for the weather. It's been overcast and finally had a break in the rain. So thought I'd come out here and kind of give you all a different setting. Excuse me. And so I thought I'd, do my video from the beach. So I guess we can go into kind of what I'm reading right now. So I'm still reading An Echo Things to Come. I'm enjoying it. I will say, people have said that it's confusing. It's not necessarily a lie. But I can understand it for the most part. I think like what's confusing is not necessarily like the plot or anything. It's just kind of like who's the villain. Like we think these people are, but are they? I don't know. It's seeming like they might not be. So that's kind of where we're at with that. And I just finished Children of Anguish and Anarchy, and I'll talk about that for my September wrap up because I just finished that, and then I'm in the middle of The Captain, which I'm trying to finish by tomorrow. Hopefully I can. All right, guys. All right, so the first book I'm going to talk to you guys about is Watch Where They Hide. So this is a novel by Tamron Hall, the second in the Jordan Manning series. However, I don't think that you need to be able to read the first one in order to understand the second one. It's just kind of like a true crime novel. Our main character, Jordan Manning, is a TV journalist, and so she's helping solve cases. So that's kind of like what this book series is about. So you can just kind of read whatever book you want to. You don't need to read the first one in order to understand the second one, because I didn't read the first one. So anyway, so something about Tamron Hall. She is a BIPOC author, so we're excited to read a story from her perspective in journalism and everything like that. And Tamron Hall is also an Emmy Award winning television journalist herself. She does news broadcasting, which is great. So, but she won a Daytime Emmy Award for her, her work in news broadcasting, and been also nominated several times. So, congratulations to her. And her books are pretty good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think my only thing is that I think there could have been a little bit more meat to it. But it really kept gripping. So this book right here is about a woman who disappears, and she's a mother of two children, and it's just not like her for her to leave. However, like as Jordan is covering up Marla, the missing woman's history, she's trying to uncover all like where did Marla go. She's learning that Marla was being intimate with several people, and ended up having and so like there was like some scandalous things there, and then of course like her husband had also an affair, and so as they're trying to figure out this relationship between the missing mother and the spouse, or I guess ex-spouse. I don't remember whether or not they were married. I think they were going through divorce proceedings or were separating in the book. But anyways, so Jordan, travels to go and speak to this woman's family after she was approached to help solve the disappearance, and takes you kind of on a wild ride. She ends up confronting and facing the villain on her own. Of what happened to Marla, and faces that danger one-on-one and without police. So she gets herself into some pretty dangerous situations. So it does get a little bit tense there, but for a mystery thriller, I do think that it's a pretty good novel. And I did it through audiobook, and I think the narrator did a really good job. So the next book that I read was Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. And I really, really like Riley Sager. Riley is a really good murder mystery novelist. If you've ever read The Only One Left, like so good. And his mystery thrillers kind of border on the edge of horror. Like it gets you like in your seat where you probably need to put the book in the freezer for the night, because it gets intense. And like there's always this mystery of, is there this supernatural element involved in these murders? Am I being haunted by a ghost? Is there paranormal activity? And so with that kind of element added to the mystery, it can really get you on the edge of your seat and can be a little nerve-wracking. So anyways, like this book is about our main character, Ethan Marsh. He returns home only for his traumatic past to start haunting him. His return to Hemlock Circle reopens a case long since gone cold to find out why his best friend Billy disappeared. So we're basically following Ethan in two separate timelines, 1994 and 2024. So when Ethan is 10 years old and when he's 40. And so so basically you're learning what actually happened to him in the 1994 timeline, as you're also trying to figure out what is actually haunting Ethan now that he's returned to his childhood home after his parents have retired and moved to Florida. By the way, original concept there, Riley. Even though I liked the book, but like retirement to Florida. Anyways, you really get a sense of the relationship between the characters and what happened, because a lot of them were close back in 1994, and how what happened really traumatized them and separated them, and and pushed them apart as friends. And I think that, I think this is kind of a trope that does end up happening in a lot of horror. Like, they have this trauma, they reunite, but like, I mean, there's been so much bad blood since then that it just, they just can't manage to reconcile with each other. Another thing that adds another mystery to this book is that there is an institute in the backyard of Billy and Ethan's home. So like, not like literally in the backyard, like there's a forest, and then, a few miles into this forest is an institute where they run experiments, and like there's a lot of cult-like activity there. And one of the characters witnesses literally a ritual to contact the paranormal entities, or the people beyond, and witnesses them like putting a knife in a heart. And of course the character assumes it's human, but we come to find out later about like what really was going on at the institute. But Billy was involved in the institute, and so it's like, did the institute actually have anything to do with Billy's disappearance? And so like it really kept me on the edge of my seat. I think I gave this 5 stars. If it didn't, it probably was close. But this book was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I really recommend it to anybody who really likes very suspenseful thrillers. So my next book that I finished is How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. So this is a British mystery novel where our main character, Annie Adams, becomes the unexpected heir to her great aunt Frances's estate. The only catch is that she has to solve her murder before anyone else. So Aunt Frances, back in 1965, she went to like this fair, and there was a fortune teller, and through some tarot cards, she told Frances that she would be murdered and not to trust the bird. The bird will betray her. And so basically after this, she, she kind of just gets really, really obsessed with, who's going to murder her. And at some point she ends up ostracizing herself from, her community and her town, and people hate her because of the fact that she would call the cops and drive them wild at every instance, because she was accusing everybody of, attempting to murder her until someone actually did. And so, Annie is kind of the only person who's taking this seriously, even though she never met her Aunt Frances. Like, someone murdered her, and this needs to, you know, be solved. And so Annie kind of takes it upon herself to solve this murder, obviously because she has to if she wants to inherit the fortune. But against the advice of the police and her family, and her family is not good. There are some bad people. Her family is some bad people, and so one of her cousins thinks that like he has her. It's like, you're gonna mess up, and I'm gonna end up getting money, but his plan ends up falling through. Oh no, I'm spoiling this a little bit for you, but his plan ends up falling through, and Annie ends up actually getting in danger face to face with the murderer. And I mean, it's a very intense scene, but but I mean, this is a mix between like your typical British countryside murder mystery versus like your American thriller. So I really enjoyed it. I thought the narrator did a really good job too. And then the next one is First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. So I really like this book. This book was from Book of the Month, though I don't think that I chose this book from Book of the Month. And I think Middle of the Night was also, but I didn't choose that book either, even though I love Riley Sager. I just prefer listening to the audiobooks. And if I'm going to pay $18 a month for Book of the Month, I want a hard copy book. Sorry. So with First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston, we have our main character, Evie Porter, and this is not her real name. We learned this like right away. So I'll just read you what I have. So Evie Porter, or so she goes by on this case, is an undercover saboteur whose boss has had enough of her antics. One day, he sends an agent suited in her original identity as a warning. Evie decides now is the time to leave the business and must race to the evidence that would not only exonerate her, but get rid of her boss. And so we have her boss, Mr. Smith, is done with her antics, and basically it's like, you don't do what I say, I'm going to get rid of you. Like I've gotten rid of those who don't, listen to me. And she has gotten into like this relationship with her target, and she's like, I really don't want to go through with this. Like I'm in love with him, I'm getting married to him, and so she kind of rebelling, he ends up framing her for a murder that happened with her past case. And so that's where she's like, I'm done, and so she basically, makes this plan to go to Atlanta and to, get the evidence that she stowed away that would put her boss behind bars. Only thing is that her boss is, keeps putting obstacles in her way. And I did like this. I did have to pause in the middle of it because of the fact that when I started reading it, there were only a few days left on Libby, and I didn't get to finish it. And so I had to wait, and I thought I wasn't going to get it back until September, but a week later I got it back and I finished it, and it was great. Loved it. The narrator did a really good job. I need to write down the narrators' names. I got notes and I wrote down the authors' names, but I should have written down the narrators' names when I do this. So I'm going to start doing that next time, because the narrator, like they can make or break a book, and when they make an audiobook, like they definitely deserve the recognition. So I can see very heavy rain afar. It was not supposed to rain again today. It's supposed to be like 3 to 6%. And I came out here and it's starting to get heavier. So I'm going to finish this last book inside. So I will talk to you guys in a minute. Okay, everybody. So I'm back in my hotel room. So it hasn't started raining yet, but I mean, it was getting close, and I really just didn't want to get my stuff wet, especially my books. I know like water damage isn't necessarily the end of the world, but I still want to make sure I'm taking care of my book. So I didn't want to be caught out in the rain with it raining. And I hate the fact that the weather changed. But also, I just want to say, like, on the way in here, excuse me, on the way in here, I like saw the cutest elderly couple. They were trying to get into their door. And here at this one, it's not a slip an insert, it's a tap. And so I ended up helping them out with that. But they were just really cute here for a good time at the beach. So I hope they enjoy it. But anyways, so my last book that I read was Royal Assassin. So, oh gosh, this thing makes me look so fat. So Royal Assassin, I mean, I am fat, but don't need to be wearing clothes. It makes it worse. Anyways, what I was saying, Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. A lot of you guys probably are familiar with Robin Hobb and her books. And so this is the second book in the Farseer trilogy. So shortly after the first one ended, we're here with Fitz. Basically, Fitz is recovering. He's having seizures and is just super weak. But he wants to stay. He doesn't want to go back to Buckkeep. He doesn't think his place is there. With his ability with the wit and his lack of ability with the skill, as erratic as it is, it just doesn't seem like a fit. But he made a duty to his king, and his king calls him home. So he ends up going back home, and he ends up going back to Buckkeep and going back into his duties. The only thing that's different this time is Regal is on a trip in this book. I mean, I've hated villains before, but this boy needs, I know, we don't necessarily do with violence or anything like that, but this boy needs to be spanked. I'm just going to say it. Regal needs a whooping. He is out of his ever-loving mind in this book. I mean, disgusting human being. And, I blame his mother. So, his dad absolutely adores him, thinks that he can't do any wrong. And it frustrates Verity. And it frustrates Fitz more because he feels like he can't tell the king that he thinks, hey, I think your son might be killing you. Even though, by the way, there are so many hints in this book that Regal is after the king, before it's actually even stated or before it clicks into Fitz's head. Because they just no, he wouldn't do that. I'm just do you not remember how evil he was in the first book? He's 10 times worse now. And his work didn't go to plan. So, just based off of his plan in the first book, he's going to get rid of anybody who's in his way, even if it's blood. He was in the first book, he was trying to kill Verity, using Galen, and it's, anyways, another thing is Molly and Fitz's relationship progresses in this book, which I like, but like most relationships, it falls apart based off lack of communication, but it's not because Fitz is wanting to lie to her, is wanting to mislead her. It's because of the fact that he has a duty and sworn secrecy, to his king and what he does. So he can't tell her, and it would endanger her as well. And even when, he does reveal this, sorry, there's going to be some spoilers because I've got some things I need to say about this book. Even when he does tell her, I feel like her reactions to each time, I think he says something that is justified. But maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe it's because I'm a guy. I don't know. But, even when he tells her and she's just why didn't you tell me to begin with? And it's just you know, he goes, because it would put you in danger. And she's like, I don't care. And it's just like, why can't you accept that he was trying to do something to protect you, to honor you, because he loved you and didn't want to see you get hurt. I think Molly can be a strong character, but she shows quite a bit of selfishness and not seeing, the bigger picture. And I think it's because she doesn't necessarily want the bigger picture. Like Fitz is royal, regardless if he's a Fitz or not. Um, so like he has royal blood in him and she doesn't. And she's not even a commoner anymore. She's a servant now because of the fact that, her dad died and left her with all this debt. And so she has nothing. She lost her candle shop. So, there's a lot of pain there, and that I understand. I understand the pain. I understand the trauma that she's going through. And there's a lot of trauma in this book. And I think Fitz doesn't necessarily do a good job of like helping her through that, and I think also like there's a lot of things that are put into Molly's ears as well. And that's one thing that frustrates me is like you say you love Fitz, but you're choosing to believe other people who are telling you rumors about him versus trusting the person that you love. And like that's such a key basis for a relationship, is trust and truth. And yes, Fitz is having to keep things from her, but it's not because he doesn't want to tell her, he doesn't want to be honest. It's because of the fact that he has sworn secrecy and for her safety cannot tell her. That I struggled with a lot. Molly also has her own plans too, which is great. She needs to follow those. She's wanting to, own her own shop again. She's continuing to do, the candle making, and she wants to get back to chandlery. I think that is a good motivation for Molly. But I think also what bugs her is the fact that like now because she's a servant and she's severely below Fitz's station, that she seems, I think that she lets that also drive insecurities and a wedge in the relationship. I think that makes her feel like she has no value when they cannot get married because of her station and what she has become. And of course, like, her being a servant was her choice, but how she got to have to accept a servant position was not her choice. It was better for her to choose the life of a lady's maid versus a life on the streets. And so, she made this choice to save money, and I think that really bothers her. I mean, and it would and should anybody. You have somebody that you love. I mean, especially today's age, like we just don't understand that because it's not necessarily a thing that a lot of us, involve ourselves in. So I think that, I think I understand where Molly is coming from. I just don't necessarily think that how she handles her emotions or the fact that she refuses to listen and continuously make assumptions about Fitz it's not good. It's not healthy. It makes me not really want to, cheer on their relationship, make me want to make it last. It just doesn't. So another thing that so besides his relationship with Molly, Fitz also has to struggle with, the wit, which we really, really, really focus on the wit here. Like this book, we didn't really touch deep into the wit in the first book. Yes, he does it, but it was focused on Fitz gaining the skill. That's what the first book was on. And his skill is erratic. We also focus on Fitz gaining more control over the skill here. But we really see, how, because in the first book, I was like, well, how's the wit it's so bad? I mean, he just is communicating with his dog. I think every human wishes that they could talk to their dog. But here, you really see the depth of the wit and how far it goes. And I will say it's kind of weird. There are times where, I mean, they made me uncomfortable. There's nothing like, it just made me uncomfortable because like, it's just like, that's something that you would do, like you would say with a human, like brother and all that kind of stuff. And, like the emotional connection between the two of them just felt wrong and off. And, that was, so that was just like off for me. I don't know. Like, I just thought it was weird. With Night Eyes, only to find out that like Night Eyes is almost in the entire series. So I don't know. I also just don't like Night Eyes. Like I didn't like his character from the beginning. If like with Fitz's first two dogs, they weren't wild animals; they were domesticated, right? And so they had more of a docile demeanor. Where Night Eyes is a wolf, he's an aggressive, wild wolf, and that ends up pouring into, because like their minds meld, they become like a hive mind in a sense. If you really want to, get down to semantics, like they end up forming like a hive mind, and like they can add more to their pack and meld their minds together. That's what's weird. I think that like Night Eyes' mind, is also Fitz's mind, and they can go back and forth into each other's bodies. And that's just like, I don't know. Like, I just thought that was weird. I think it's a cool concept. Don't get me wrong, but like, I didn't necessarily enjoy it. And I didn't enjoy it for Fitz. I think he was putting himself in danger, and even though like he's still young, and this is something that like he can't control, like for the most part, he really can't. Like it's an uncontrollable power, just like how he can't control his skill. It's erratic. And so is the wit. The wit is, um, the wit he does not have control over. And so, there's a point where you can't blame him for certain things. But I don't like the choice of the wolf. I just literally think it's weird to get that close with your pet. Don't get me wrong. Like I love my pets. I love Frio and I love Pacho, but like, I don't want them like inside my mind, especially when I'm having like my most intimate moments. Like Night Eyes is literally like there when Fitz and Molly are, I don't really think I need to say it. And I was just like, oh, that's odd. I don't like that. It would make me so uncomfortable. It did make me uncomfortable reading that, because like, Fitz has literally no mind to himself, and I don't like that. I think it's just because, it's not that I don't like it for the book. It's just like, I don't like that for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't like that because I don't like that for myself. Like I don't want, I don't want the wit. If it comes down to where like someone has full access to my mind at all times, no, thank you. I don't think so. And the skill is kind of like that as well. The only thing with the skill is that you can build up walls, and you're not a hive mind. You're still your own personality. You're still your own mind. Obviously, with the wit, you kind of are too. But like, with the skill, like you have to constantly reach out, or you have to constantly shield. And you can shield, where with the wit, at least how it's seeming in this book, is that like there is no hiding thoughts. Like, their mind is one and separate at the same time. And so, and of course, like Night Eyes is an animal. So like, he can't, like he's animal instincts. He's just watching. Like, he's like, this is pack, I must, follow my alpha. And so like, he's always in tuned with Fitz, even when Fitz doesn't want him to be. So I think that's just, that was just weird to me. But doesn't mean that it took away from the book. I just think that it added extra element to it. I think about like the circumstances that they're in. So Um, anyways, and then of course, we talk about Regal being the scum of the earth, and literally just mind torturing Fitz. And then of course, Verity takes it upon himself to use the skill and teach Fitz how to control the skill. And so we have that where Fitz is starting to get more and more control of this skill, but he still has way too many walls up in order for him to really use it, utilize it. And he gets a lot of flack for it, especially like those of Verity's coterie who used to be students with Fitz of Galen. And so like that was, and so like, he's having to dodge that because like they don't like him, and they don't think he has the skill. They think that it got, kicked out of him by Galen. I think that's, if I remember the name correctly, I think that's it. That's his name. So anyways, and then of course, we have Queen Ketrican, and she is just feeling lonely. She has no one there from her kingdom, which, is tradition, but for the 6 duchies, it's tradition for the queen to bring her own people to court, and Ketrican didn't do that because she doesn't see queendom as like this this hierarchy, she sees it, and they call it, so Ketrican sees being queen more as a duty of service than it is, a duty to be served. That's why like they call being a queen the sacrifice, because she is supposed to sacrifice herself for her people. And like, to be honest, like when I was reading, it's like, yeah, like that's the whole point of a monarchy, is that, they're there to serve the people. They're there to make sure that the governors and the dukes and the lords that they put in place are taking care of their people. Like, because if you, of course, like, I won't go into like real monarchy, but because here I'll just go on a tangent about monarchy. So monarchies believe that they are ordained by God to lead these people. So they believe they're chosen, like how David was chosen to lead Israel. That is, like they go and get anointed. They, and that's why like it has to be by blood, because, it has to be a descendant of the ruling class. And so obviously in this book, God does not exist. And so, they're, like the king of the 6 duchies, their monarchy is put in place by their ancestors of discovered land. They, they don't believe that they are ordained by a higher power to lead these people. But, Ketrican sees the value of what being, or not the value, she sees the true responsibility of being a leader and governing her people. Like it is supposed to be a sacrifice, and like they are supposed to give up themselves so that their people can live and lead happy lives and fulfilled lives. And when you have the Red Ship Raiders, like she's on the battlefield, she's like, I'm gonna cut up some red ships. Yeah. And she's like, we're gonna, well, she doesn't. Verity says we're gonna make some boats to battle them. And she's like, I'm gonna do it on foot and beat you there. At one point she does go on horseback, while pregnant, by the way, like go girl, and defeats, Red Ship Raiders. And the Red Ship Raiders get more intense. The forgings get worse in this book. How a forging is made and all that kind of stuff is not determined. I actually had a dream last night about forged ones and stuff. I don't know. It was weird. Anyways, sorry. But it was, I mean, yeah. I really enjoyed Royal Assassin, especially the end, and gosh, it got so intense. So like I read this, it took me a whole month to read this book, and I feel a little embarrassed about that. Just because of the fact that like I normally can read a book that long in like 10 days or less. I was just going through some stuff, and August was just a busy time. So we're all good now. We're on track. So we're back on board. So basically, I'm 400 and like 90 pages in, and things are picking up, and so I decide to stay up until like 3 o'clock in the morning, even though it's a work night, and read the rest of the book. And I did. I mean, it was. I mean, it like you couldn't have stopped me. You couldn't have gotten me to put the book down. It was just so good, and I love Robin Hobb's writing. Like, she really takes her time to build this world, to build these characters, give you several situations to see them grow, to see them fail, to see them recover from making mistakes, and so like you really feel for these characters, or you really hate them, because of how slow these books are. It takes a little bit to get to the point and plot of the book, but like the character development is so much of the book that I wouldn't want it to be any other way. We're seeing, this world through several eyes. Obviously it's one point of view, first person, but Fitz gives us so much of how the other characters interact and react, and sometimes I forget the book is in first person until Fitz is actually speaking, and it goes, "I said," because he goes on pages and pages and pages about what this character is doing and going through, and so you because of the fact that he's not talking about himself, you start to think that this is a third person narrative, and it's not. But I still really loved the book. I think I gave it 5 stars. At first I didn't think it was going to, and then it ended and I was like, yeah, 5 stars. So I'm trying to think of what else I missed. Also, like, forged ones are zombies. Like, yeah, apparently, they eat human flesh. What? I didn't think that I was going to read about zombies in Robin Hobb's epic fantasy. Don't get me wrong. Like, I loved it, but was not expecting that at all. So, that was really interesting. I really, like, enjoyed that twist, even though like it's not blatantly said that it's a zombie, but like you see this instant and you're like, oh, okay, so we're dealing with zombies now. Gotcha. All right. Yeah. And then let's see. I don't want to spoil like the end for you, but let's just say Regal ends up getting his way and things go to absolutely utter crap. Like, downhill. It takes a nosedive. It does not end happy. But thank goodness there's a third one, Assassin's Quest. And I'm really excited to get that started. So anyways, guys, this has been great. I know I probably went more into Royal Assassin than I did about my murder mysteries. And so this made it a long video, but I am glad, that we got to have this time and talk about what I read in August. And I think the next video that you're going to see is going to be the second Dark Tower video. Let me see. I'm going to bring you in just a little closer. All right. So, all right. This has been Johnny Reads. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. If you have any comments you'd like to share about my thoughts on some of these books, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you have a blessed one. This is Johnny Reads, over and out.